No, no, we won't. Yeah, we'll say and bring me and let my wings lift me higher and bring me to your side. Carry me high above the water. Carry me high above the plain. Carry me far beyond the rising of the sun. Bring me home again. Carry me high above the water. Carry me high above the plain. Carry me far beyond the rising of the sun. Bring me home again. Bring me home again. Bring me home again.
Great and marvelous are your works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are your ways, O King of saints. Please be seated. Good afternoon. Welcome to Pittsburgh New Church. We are so glad that you could join us today, and some of you from really far away. So we're just so grateful you could be here to celebrate Joan's earthly life. Before I get started, I wanted to say there is a reception afterwards, and it's nearby, and if you can check with Brad or Aaron, but we're all gonna meet there afterwards, so it's pretty close. I'm going to start with a reading from Heaven and Hell, and this is this number talks about part of Joan's journey, part of Granny's journey, part of Mom's journey, and it's a little bit about what's going to be happening to her. Heaven and Hell. Those who are in heaven are continually advancing to the spring of life, and to a spring so much the more delightful and happy, the more thousands of years they live. And this to eternity, with increase according to the progressions and degrees of their love, charity, and faith. Women who have died old and worn out with age, and have lived in faith in the Lord and charity toward the neighbor, and in happy conjugal love with a husband, after a succession of years, come more and more into the flower of youth and early womanhood, and into a beauty which exceeds all of beauty ever perceivable by our sight. Goodness and charity are what form and make a resemblance of itself, and cause the delight and beauty of charity to shine forth from the minutest parts of the face, so that they themselves are forms of charity. They have been seen by some and have excited astonishment. The form of charity which is seen in a loving way in heaven is such that charity itself is what portrays and is portrayed, and that this in such a manner that the whole angel, especially the face, is as it were charity, which both appears and is plainly perceived, which form, when it is beheld, is ineffable beauty, affecting with charity the inmost life of the mind. In a word, to grow old in heaven is to grow young. Those who have lived in love to the Lord and in charity toward the neighbor become such forms or such beauties in the other life. All angels are such forms with innumerable variety, and this is what heaven consists of. Amen. Please be seated. Again, thank you for coming. There's an appearance that death will be the end of our lives. That when our spirit leaves our body, we will no longer exist. But nothing could be farther from the truth. Thank goodness. The Lord plainly tells us that we live after our bodies die. He tells us in the New Testament, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And again, let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. So everyone is spirit. Everyone has a spirit. Everyone lives to eternity. And for this, we can be forever grateful. In the Heavenly Doctrines of the New Church, we've been given beautiful images of how people wake up in the spiritual world, of how the process of getting there, and what is that waking up process they do when they get there. We can imagine Joan waking up surrounded by angels that love her. I mean, she would be in the process of discovering her new spiritual body, finding out about her new surroundings. We're told that the Lord carefully separates our body from our soul and provides the birth of a new home for that soul in heaven. And that's where she will live forever. It's a wondrous process we must all go through. And now it's Joan's turn. What a sphere of activity must be going on around her. And we can just imagine Carl's surprise in fact, I can hear him saying, "Granny, what are you doing here?" As he hugs her, and she fills him in on the news from Earth. And I'm sure they won't be able to stop smiling. We are told that strong and loving spirit that Joan developed on Earth, along with her ruling love, will gradually appear more and more, comes out from within, until it perfectly reflects her beautiful character. She will be led towards people who have the same affections, people she will look at and immediately feel as if she has known them her whole life. Have you ever had that? You look at somebody, I know you. She'll have that feeling over and over again, like it's a reunion of family and friends. And over time, this passing from one life to the next, we're told, is just a distant thought. In other words, we're alive here, and then a couple days later, we're alive in another place. Now, if you're feeling connected to Granny in any way, I want you to just feel that now. Know that that feeling of love is a reflection of the love that she feels for you. Because that love is reciprocal. It goes both ways. And just feel her presence here. Joan MacDonald Alden was born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, to William and Nora Thompson MacDonald, January 25th, 1927. Her brothers were Bob and Dennis. And life was not that easy for Joan with the two tough brothers and maybe distant parents. Things were not that much fun at the beginning, but things started looking up when she went to the Olivet School in Toronto under the tutelage of Fred John Clark. From there, she went to Bernathen as a senior, and she loved it. It wasn't long before she was one of the Glencairn girls. Now, this is 5 or 6 girls that used to work at a big castle in Bernathen. They were working for Mildred Pitcairn. And one of Mildred's rules was that girls had to write to soldiers overseas. So Joan faithfully wrote to a wounded soldier in France. His name happened to be Joan Alden. Now, she had seen his handsome picture hanging on her roommate's wall. She knew that she liked his father, Carl Alden, who taught religion at the academy, so as if by chance, she began to write letters. When John returned from the war, he ran into this Glencairn girl in the tower, the Glencairn Tower. And she seemed to know a lot about him. "How do you know so much about me?" he said. "I'm Joan. I wrote to you in France." Within the year, they were engaged. In 1947, they were married by John's father, Carl, on Easter Sunday at the cathedral. Now, mind you, the cathedral was already decorated for Easter at their wedding, saving them a ton of money. Just kind of like the church was already decorated for Christmas. Anyway, the Aldens can plan. Now, Glenn was their first child, and he's in Australia, but he's on Skype. He was born within the year, and then Martha was born on Christmas Day. Then David, Bonnie, Beth, Miriam and Diane, the twins, then Jeanette, Robert, John, Nora. Yep, there's more. Finally, Aaron. 12 altogether. And what a mother Joan was. The girls remember Sundays getting ready for church. They would be in front of Mom's vanity, getting their hair brushed. Hard. And Mom would say, "It doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt." They remember her gifts. Christmas Eve. A dress she had made herself. Each child got a dress she made, new tights, and a ribbon for their hair. They remember the homemade bread she would sell at the church, and even now they wonder how their mom took in strangers, took in everybody, anybody, even the baby twins. She fed and loved them and sent them on their way. And the boys remember her favorite sayings. All tickling is from hell. Another one, what will be, will be. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And in her later years, don't get old, it's not worth it. But her real epitaph should say, it will turn up. We've all heard that. It was so fun interviewing this family, this big family, this beautiful family. The overall feeling for this wonderful mother is really a feeling of awe. They're awed at her ability to be present, even in the simplest things. Ironing, baking. She's present. John has been described as the mountain, but Joan is the flowing field in the valley. She thrived on parties, and yet she was kind of an introvert. She was shy. And so she worked in the background, behind the scenes, making sure everybody was happy. She never seemed to get flustered. She seemed to manage the whole group from the background. Just giving them love, but always behind the scenes. It's not surprising that Aldens love to cook. Granny did a fair amount of cooking. Who would forget Granny's never-ending pancakes? And she always somehow fit in her favorite, which was buttered toast. She was always busy. President of the Women's Guild here, helping out in the school there, and dedicated to giving her children a new church education, which happened right here. And they lived right up there, long time. As the years slipped away, spending time with Granny was pretty special. Melissa remembers spending the night with her, which basically consisted of this: a bowl of ice cream before bed, and then snuggling up and reading the Word together in bed. That's a night with Granny. Some of the boys remember baking with Granny, which was nothing less really than kitchen experiments, where the main ingredient was patience. But she had a quiet warmth about her, just like the bread she baked. Nothing would make Joan more happy than a newborn. She would come and stay when you were having a baby. She would bring you toast. She would take the baby and let you sleep, caring for your every need. She looked out for everything. She was clearly in her element. She was even good with the most difficult son-in-laws. I mean, the son-in-laws. Never overstepping her bounds. She was kind in every direction. We'll never forget all she brought to her home, the singing, like the anniversary song, Don't Sing It. The baking, her love of reading. She made the Alden home alive. With things like this. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who boil for gold. Who could forget the cremation of Samuel McGee? But this is the way she was. This is what she shared with her family, literature and love and no roughhousing. In her later years, when her concentration began to fail, John would read to her for hours, still having their own family worship every night. A side benefit at this time in her life was the uncensored wit the family received. Basically, Joan would tell it like it is. Although Martha was clearly the favorite child, she was dethroned by Nora and Aaron. But everyone always was treated fairly. Unconditional love was the norm. So that day finally came in just recently, after 46 grandchildren and 54 great-grandchildren, and 70 happy years of marriage. I know John, almost 71, that she slipped into the spiritual world. John was there, holding her hand. It was a peaceful passing, a very tender moment as she went to her spiritual home. When asked, will you see her again, John replied with no hesitation, she absolutely became an angel, and she will be waiting for me. The Lord said to Joan, as he says to each one of us, do not fear, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Amen. most merciful Lord Jesus Christ, in whose presence all people are living, and with whom there is no death. Help us to see in the passing away from this life of those whom we love, as in all works of your providence, nothing but the operation of your love and mercy. And to acknowledge, even though we mourn our natural loss, that all you do is good. That every affliction of this world ministers to the universal end of your creation. And that even through the death of this life, you bestow the life of your eternal kingdom on all who love you and keep your commandments. Teach us all, O Lord, to feel and know in our hearts that your way is truth, that your mercy is everlasting, and that in your presence alone is life and peace and joy forever. Amen. Let us say the prayer you taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ be with you all. Amen.
I seek your care and love. flows from you above. Lord, I ask you to give me faith and help me understand. And Lord, when this life shall be, just hold me in your hand.
The way you like.